Quick announcement. Hydrate. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've been diverting my creative energy elsewhere for a while, I'll get to that later, and it means that I've not had a lot of ideas for videos. But I realized, hey, I'm building a community here, why not talk to you? I haven't done anything similar to a Q&A video in about probably 10 years. I think I did one to celebrate reaching 1,000 subscribers. So I thought, hey, fuck it, other people swear by Q&A videos as like a regular content stream, so let's do one, and then just see where it takes us. So I asked you on Twitter for questions using the hashtag Liam's Q&I, because I'm calling it Q&I, because that's what we're doing. You asked me a fuck ton of questions, I'm gonna answer a smaller fuck ton of them. Here we! So where have you been? On Twitch, I stream there about 2 or 3 days a week, 3 hours at a time, and it's a lot of fun. I play Breath of the Wild, I play retro PlayStation games, I sometimes play some games on Steam, but my laptop can't take it, and the people watching stream all the time are lovely and really inclusive, and I would strongly recommend you come and hang out and check out a stream one time, because they're all brilliant, and you know, we'll all just have a good time. Are Pop-Tarts and Uncrustables ravioli? No, because ravioli itself is part of the pasta genus, but they are in fact burgers. Was there a point where you thought you'd totally give up on building an online community? This is a good question, and yes, and you'd be surprised as to when. It was probably around the time where I would say that I peaked, which I personally would say is somewhere between 2011 and 2013. Because around that time, my audience was at their most active, they were growing their fastest, but at the same time, I just wasn't particularly happy with how that was being handled. Partly by me, partly by the greater culture of YouTube at the time. I was portraying more of a character than a person. I was dressing in all the same sort of outfits and clothes, I was using a lot of catchphrases, I was doing all this sort of gimmicky stuff that made people view me less of just a person making videos and more of like a character that would be pedestaled. And as it turns out, I couldn't handle that very well, but I didn't really feel like I could come back from that. And it's only been recently where I've seen how people have been engaging with their audiences in different and fun ways that has inspired me to give it another go. And the fact that so many of you are still here and willing to try out this new step of the journey with me is just warming my cold black heart. What's your favorite Legend of Zelda song? Song of Storms. What is your advice for overcoming a creative mental block? I'm very bad at this in general, and I'm probably not the best person to give advice. But I will say, if you're stuck creatively, turn the things that you're procrastinating with into a project. My biggest procrastination has been playing video games, and I also talk to myself while I'm playing them, so I thought, hey, fuck it, I'll channel that into streaming. So if you find yourself just doodling in notebooks, maybe turn that into like a bigger piece of art. If you find yourself just excessively cleaning around the house instead of writing, film it and then edit it and set it to music and turn it into something aesthetic and arty. This doesn't have to be your life's work, but you'd be amazed at how much turning something normal into something creative can get the rest of your juices flowing. What films do you like seeing at the cinema, and what influences your desire to see them? Honestly, when it comes to films, I am a total fucking sucker, so usually the thing that inspires me to go see something over something else is the amount of hype around it. I will go see any movie at the cinema. I'm not a genre snob, I like the medium, but the ones I'm more likely to see are the ones that everyone else around me is excited for. What's a weird or unusual goal you've achieved in the last few years that's separate from work? This is a weird one because I often feel that work has been way too much of a focus for me the past few years. So I don't really know. I mean, I finally saw Foo Fighters after waiting about 12 years to do that. I did it at Glastonbury, it was amazing. I completed the Kanto Pokédex in Pokemon Go. The last thing I needed was a Tauros that I caught in Seattle. I got this tattoo done, which I'd had drawn in my notebook for about 2 years and then just finally went and did it. Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to create more personal goals for myself this year, but so many of them seem to be tied to my career because that's just who I am. What's something that currently makes you happy? Checking in on my Discord and seeing people bonding and befriending each other and supporting each other without even having any direct involvement from me. What video game would you recommend to somebody who isn't really into video games? Stardew Valley. You can get it on pretty much any platform, so if you don't have a gaming console, you can get it on your computer. And yes, it is a game, but it's also time management, daily routine, budgeting, interacting with the locals. The good thing about Stardew Valley is you can do a lot of things in the game, but you don't have to. You're basically just building a life for yourself on a farm, and you can do whatever you want with that as long as you sort of survive, I guess. It's very calming, I love the music, it looks beautiful, and yeah, I've been playing it for months and months and months. Favorite character from the Adventure Zone balance? Johan. How do you balance being self-employed and caring for your mental health? Badly! I have two major problems with both my mental health and being self-employed. One is being lonely because I work from home all the time and it means that I'm not constantly surrounded by people. And the second one is anxiety about whether or not I'm actually going to be able to pay rent the next month. The catch-22 I'm in is that solving problem one means going outside and interacting with people, which usually, because I live in London, involves spending money, which makes problem two worse. So just accepting that some of these things are going to be an inevitability and getting outside and seeing people usually helps me. Just make sure you're constantly surrounded with folks. What are your favorite travel destinations, and is there anywhere that's on your bucket list? Now, I love traveling, but more than anything else, I love traveling to somewhere for a reason. I like traveling to LA for VidCon. I like going to Toronto for Buffer Festival. I will travel somewhere just for the sake of going on holiday, but it does make me feel a bit more anxious that there's not something set in stone for me when I get there. I have so many places around the world that are on my bucket list, but if I had to pick like my top 3, I would probably say Japan, Iceland, and New York. What movie are you most looking forward to this year? Infinity War! Favorite Hamilton song and why? Probably Hurricane, because the message of it, both good and bad, kind of resonates with me a bit. Hamilton feels like the only way he's overcome the challenges in his life is through his own intellect and creativity and writing his way out, which at times I absolutely feel is relevant to me, but at the same time, that song is all about him feeling like his self-reliance is the only thing that's going to keep him going, which was ultimately his downfall. And that's also something I also try to keep in mind and keep myself grounded when I'm trying to write my way out. Can you describe a moment where you were absolutely content with life? What are the best and worst parts of being a freelancer / your own boss? Best parts? Lying in, working in my pajamas, and finding time to work on my creative projects. Worst parts? Missing half the workday from lying in, not showering until the middle of the evening, and using my creative projects as a coping mechanism for not having any work. Will you ever park Panty Raid in a sensible place? Panty Raid is my first horse in my master mode stream of Breath of the Wild. It's a horse that has pants on, basically, or it looks like it, so we called it Panty Raid, and every time I dismount Panty Raid, it usually ends up being a place that's not a good place for a horse, like the edge of a pier where an NPC is about to push it off. But I think the real question here is, can you park a horse? Is that the right verb? Is internet dads ever gonna be a thing? Big maybe. I want it to, Charlie wants it to, but we're not entirely sure whether either of us actually have time to work on it. Pretty much the week that we announced the podcast coming out, all of Charlie's projects in Toronto kind of kicked off, so we haven't actually had time to sit down and record any episodes. So it's on hiatus before it even had a chance to begin, but it's definitely something I'd like to do in the future. What's your favorite book / books / book series / just recommend us books? I've been very bad at books the past few months, but one that has definitely inspired me and is half the reason I'm sort of living my life the way that I am right now is The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck by Sarah Knight. It's a very funny, very irreverent, and very concise guide to just sort of dealing with being overcome by work and stress and all that sort of stuff. Favorite non-McElroy podcast? Who Shot Ya? It's another one from the Maximum Fun Network, but it's a movie podcast hosted by Ricky Carmona. One of the things I love about Who Shot Ya is that they constantly advertise themselves as a movie podcast that's not just by straight white dudes. Pretty much all of their panel are usually men and women of color or from the LGBTQ+ communities, and I think that getting their perspective on representation and where we're at in the film industry in general is quite important. I've always felt you've had a very interpersonal, welcoming comedy to your personality and tweets. Oh, thank you very much. What do you feel influences your sense of humor and the way that you choose to present it? Something that's always been kind of important to me, but more so in recent years, is being inclusive. So I guess it's partly that reason that one of the elements of comedy that attracts me the most is absurdism, because it's a type of humor that's not at anybody's expense. If you'd like tell just like a fundamentally weird joke or just present yourself as just an odd person, the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody's not going to quite get it and not laugh. And I'd honestly rather be responsible for that than be responsible for a room full of people laughing at the expense of a marginalized person. I also think in some cases it's important to draw a line between humor and comedy, because in a lot of ways humor is like the everyday comedy, isn't it? It's just like laughing with your friends, it's telling in-jokes, it's like sharing memes. Comedy is a bit, it's like an established art form that usually is intended to convey a message. And I feel like if you're the kind of person that's trying to do comedy with everything they say rather than, you know, just being humorous, then it gets exhausting for you and everyone around you. So be funny, but don't be a dick. What do you think is the most fun word or phrase to say? Bungus. That's a lot of questions and this video is going to be very long, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for submitting all those questions. If I didn't get to yours, it's because I didn't want to answer it. That's going to do it for this YouTube video. As I mentioned earlier, I am streaming regularly on Twitch, so please come check out a stream. The link is below. You'll also see some links to some other stuff, including my Discord, which is full of some wonderful, lovely, supportive people you should absolutely join, and my Patreon, which I encourage you to check out if you're interested in supporting more videos or more streams or just generally more creative stuff that I'm doing. And that's it. Your queues have been eyed, and I am going to go leave. I don't have to tell you where. Goodbye.